Heyo, how you doing? Everything is good on your side? Everything's fine because on my side things are going pretty awesome. Why, you might ask? Because, well, look what I have. The brand new and still shiny Radiomaster Zorro. When 2 years ago the Radiomaster released the TX16S radio, they changed the market a little. They, together with the jumper, took a quite big of the pie that previously belonged to the FrSky, hold it, and looks like they are going to keep it, because really, looks like the Zorro will be a success. Oh, and please remember to subscribe and hit the like button. It will help to grow the channel. But now, let's take a detailed look at what exactly is the Radiomaster Zorro. Without further ado, this is Zorro. What I have over here is the Zorro with the Express LRS transmitter module inside. There is an option to get Zorro with 4-in-1 and also Zorro with the CC2500 will give you the compatibility with the FrSky ACC ST, D8 and D16 receiver. However, most probably the Express LRS option is the most interesting. What you get is the very similar form factor to the previous small radio. T8, however, the biggest feature visible from the beginning is the LCD screen that is just integrated to the body of the radio. It's no longer detachable, but from my point of view, this is actually an upgrade. You get two gimbals, which are, well, plastic gimbals. I would really put them somewhere in the middle of the gimbals that can be found on this size of the radios. You have on the top side also the standard set of OpenTX, HTX buttons, sys model, roller to pick the option, telemetry, return, page forward, page back, 4 trim switches so you can trim this radio and use it for standard airplane flying, and here on the top side you get the 4 switches. Those 2 switches over here, which are E and F, are 2-position switches, while those switches slightly higher, B and C, are 3-position switches. On top of that, over here you will get 2 sliders just under your index fingers, and I have to say the tension on this thing is kinda nice, and they give you the confidence that when you set it, they will stay there. And what's interesting, A and D are not switches. A and D are momentary push buttons. Also here, in the back, in the top, in the back, we have the option for the SD card slot. We have the USB-C plug because this thing has the integrated battery with the USB-C quick charge, so the full charge of the batteries takes like 20 or something minutes. Of course, the audio port, trainer port, and if you want to install the external SMA antenna, you already have the hole prepared for it. And on the bottom side we have 2 another momentary push buttons, so you press them and the channel goes up or high, or you can use the logical conditions on the HTX, OpenTX to add the latch or any other extra features that the HTX and OpenTX offers you. You get the slot for the extension module, so you can add the external 4-in-1 or Ghost or even Crossfire if you want to. And finally we get into the grips, where in the grips, they are really hard to remove. When in the grips you have the batteries. 1 battery in each grip, and those are 18 350 lithium batteries. Bear in mind, because this is chargeable via the USB-C with the quick charge, which is super awesome, you do not really have to remove them for charging. The grips can be assembled all the time. And of course, the power button. Like I mentioned, it comes flashed with the HTX, however the OpenTX support is coming. But on top of that, there are a few interesting details about the Zorro. The first of them is that this thing has the integrated Express LRS antenna, so if you want slightly more range and more correct antenna orientation, you can just flip this thing up absolutely no problem for improved coverage. And here in the front you get the second USB-C, and by the way, this is the USB-C that you use to charge. The one over here is for flashing, and external power connector. Together with the radio, you get the additional cable that you can plug in into the external connector and power this thing from external 2S battery. And if you look closely, there is also those 4 hooks, 4 loops over here. They can be used with this additional adapter, for example, installed like that, to hang additional things from the radio, like for example the battery itself. But it's still not all, because here and here on the sides you get M2 holes that you can use in the future, when of course such an accessories will exist, to attach external things, like for example for some accessories LCD screen with the FPV, because why not? Or for example, attach this thing to the tray that is very often used by the traditional airplane pilots. Imagination is most probably the only limitation on that function. Finally, the whole body feels super nice in your hand, because with the batteries heavy, relatively heavy batteries over here, the center of balance is moved backwards, so it feels very nice in your hands. It just wants to stay in your hands when you hold it and flying with the thumbs. It's possible to also pinch on the Zorro. However, for my preference, I'm not really 100% sure if the pinching is the best option for this radio. Definitely doable, but for me, for example, on the yaw there is extremely little throw on the left side of the yaw. The clamshell is very stiff, very rigid, and the back sides of the covers of the battery compartments are rubberized. I have a bad experience with those rubberized surfaces, because they very often get sticky and, well, do not feel nice after a year or two, but not sure which kind of the material was used over here and how it will behave after the extended usage. With the neck strap hook perfectly positioned for hanging from the neck strap, look how nicely this thing is balanced. Power switch and the speaker, this is how the Zorro looks and feels from the outside. Okay, it's time for the summary. And you know what? I do like the Zorro. To be honest, I like the Zorro so much that I'm very seriously considering switching from my fully upgraded Radiomaster TX16S to the Zorro. Why? Because it's small. I'm not really that much into the big and color LCD screen. It feels just very nice in your hands, has most probably the correct amount of the switches, and it can be easily extended with the external light TX module. The integrated LCD and the easy extendability of the radio are a huge upgrades comparing to the previous small radio from the Radiomaster T8. Because let's be honest, that finicky foldable LCD on the T8 is not really the best thing ever. I'm very seriously considering switching from TX16S with the AG01 gimbals to this thing. Especially that Radiomaster is saying that there will be AG01 upgraded gimbals for the Zorro as well. And that with the built-in Express LRS transmittal module is actually a killer feature for the 2022. Initial thoughts? Very positive. Looks good, works good, feels nice in your hand, but it's not still the perfect radio. If I had a choice, I would most probably switch those two momentary buttons into normal switches. Because yes, usually 4 switches are enough, but having 6 and 2 momentary buttons I think would be slightly better option. Because yes, with the OpenTX and the EdgeTX you can use the momentary buttons as a switches with the latch option, but it's not not really that straightforward and it's hard to get the current state of the channel. Doable, but not the best solution. And with growing popularity of the Express LRS, the integrated Express LRS version most probably is the best option. Yes, there is a built-in 4-in-1 and built-in CC 2500 version, but I really do think that with the growing Express LRS popularity, this is the best option right now, because then you have this amazing radio link built in, and if you want to, you can extend it with the external TX module if you want to fly something older and legacy. I'm Paweł Spychalski, and in the next video about the Zorro, let's tear this thing down, because I would like to see how this thing is built inside. So stay tuned and happy flying!